Theo here. Welcome to another edition of Battle of the Debuts. Today we're going to go a little bit psychedelia, flower power type pop. The two bands in question are Status Quo and Soft Machine, who released albums within a matter of months of each other. Both took different paths in the end from their very first album. Quo became this heavy rock, boogie stuff, and Soft Machine sort of stayed in the more rock, still had a little bit of psychedelia. And still, of course, Status Quo are still going today, even though the only original person in the band is Francis. But people forget that Andy Bound's been involved with Quo since about 73, so he's been there a long time. And Rhino Edwards has been there since 86, so he's been there a little while as well. But sadly we have lost two of the members now, Rick Parfitt and one of the originals, Mr. Alan Lancaster. John Coghlan has just retired from music. And what happened to Roy Linds? So, and Soft Machine, we'll talk about them in a moment, because up first today is Status Quo. And in September of 1968 they released their first album on the Piat label, and it is Picturesque Matchstickable Messages. So on here is Francis Rossi lead guitar and vocals, Rick Parfitt rhythm and vocals, Alan Lancaster on the bass, Mr. John Coghlan on the drums, Roy Linds on organ and vocals, and the album was produced by John Schroeder. So the first track is called Black Veils of Melancholy. This has got the same start as another track we'll be talking about, but then it goes off into its little thing. There's a lovely piece of organ music here from Roy Linds. It's very psychedelic. Alan's bass line is pretty cool. I do like that track actually. It's one of the good tracks I don't mind. Then the next track is called When My Mind Is Not Live. This is a Rick Parfitt song. It's got a nice start, some nice guitar work on this one. Another great bass line from Mr. Lancaster. John's drumming is pretty good. It's very quirky, and you get this little bit of keyboard from Roy. I wonder what did happen to him. Then we get one which is probably my favourite song on here, and it's Ice in the Sun. I Melt Away. Great track. That bring is actually done by Marty Wilde with a plectrum on a piano. He went inside of the piano, and Rick said all he got this when they were recording this is visions of Marty Wilde's Bottom. Written by Marty Wilde and Ronnie Scott. Probably one of the best early Quo tracks in the catalogue. Then we get Elizabeth Dreams. It's okay. It's written by Marty Wilde and Ronnie Scott again. The guitar work here from Francis is pretty good. It's a proper 60s track. Very well written and well played well. Then we get a thing called Gentleman's Sidewalk Café. I cannot stand this. And the record company wanted this as the first single. Can you imagine if this had been the first single, what would have happened? We wouldn't have had Status Quo, I don't think, because they would have folded up. At least common sense prevailed on that one. Next up, Paradise Flat. Yeah. Okay, the Roy's organ at the beginning sounds like we're sitting in a funeral parlour. Very psychedelic this is. Weird lyric. Oh dear. Written by Marty Wilde and Ronnie Scott again. Dearie me. Then we get Technicolor Dreams. I like this. The distorted guitar's great on this. And they get that look. Even then, Rick's rhythm was there. Good track. Then we get a cover song of a Bee Gees song written by Barry Gibb, and it's Spicks and Specks. Love this song. I love the Bee Gees version. I like the Quo's version. Then we get another cover, and that is Tommy Roe's Sheila. Great version of this. This is a bit more upbeat. One thing with Quo, when they have done the odd cover, I mean they did them albums of covers, we don't talk about them, but when they did a cover on a normal album, they did some good ones, and this is a good one. I like their version of Sheila. It's very, very good. Then we get a little thing called Sunny Cellophane Skies. One of Alan's track. Even in his early days, he was a bit more heavy, of course. Pretty good track. I like the vocal from Alan. I always enjoyed Alan's vocals. Then we get another cover, Green Tambourine. A really good version of this song. It was originally, of course, by the Lemon Pipers. I think this is a better version, actually. It's a really good version of it. And then we end up with the song that saved their skin, really. Pictures of Matchstick Men. It's not my favourite track on here. I do like it, don't get me wrong. But it's the song that actually saved Quo's career. Big hit. Great psychedelic pop song. Top 10 here. Even got in the charts in America. So it saved Quo's skin, really. What do I think of this album? Well, I actually play this album quite a lot. I love the early Quo stuff as much as I do the normal stuff. It's a very underrated album, actually, this one. It's a good psychedelic pop album, and it deserves more credit than it is. You know, top 10 album, pretty good. Okay, there's not been much written about this, but there is the bit about the album's lead single was originally intended to be Gentleman Joe's Sidewalk, Café, with the B-side being Pictures of Matchstick Men. But someone eventually decided, I don't know who it was, to turn it around, and it reached number 7, of course, in the UK, and number 12 in the US. Now, it's actually the band's only major hit single in the US, and it also reached number 8 in Canada. There's not much else written about it, but All Music did give it a 4 stars though. So let's have a look at the nuts and bolts of this one. Song quality. There's some really good songs on here. They've always produced good songs. The covers are really good. Quo have done some really good covers in the past. You know, when they went on, they did a great Mess of the Blues. They did Bye Bye Johnny, of course. There's to name 2. So I'm going to give that a 4 out of 5. Production. I think it's very well produced by John Schroeder. Does it sound dated? A little bit, but it's just still a good quality song. So I'm going to give that a 4 out of 5. Reception. Now, the album wasn't a great success, but the singles did put them on the map, and I'm going to give that a 4 out of 5. Cover design. I love the cover. The band sitting on boxes of Swan Best of Matches. For those of you outside The UK Swan Vesta are a big match thing. I don't know what they're like in other parts of the world, but I do like the idea of that. So it's a very colourful cover, so I'm going to give that a 5 out of 5. So for Status Quos, never can remember the name of this, so it's Picturesque Matchstickable Messages. I usually just call it the Matchstick album because it's easy to remember. Gives us a total of 17 out of 20. So let's move on to the contender. Soft Machine. Now these were formed in 1966. This quote were formed in 1962. They went into other names, of course. But this band was formed by Mike Ratledge on keyboards, Robert Wyatt on drums, Kevin Ayres, of course, on the bass, David Allen of Gong. He was in the band for a year, and they became one of the first British psychedelic acts. And they moved into progressive rock and jazz fusion. So you went Quo went all and out headbanging, and these went into jazz fusion. But their first album, The Soft Machine, debuted in 1968 as well. I think it came out just after the Quo album, and it was the only album that featured Kevin Ayres. So on here we have got Kevin Ayres, lead guitar, bass, lead vocals, spoken word. Robert Wyatt on the drums. Additional personnel on here is Hugh Hopper on fuzz bass. The Cake on backing vocals. Produced by Tom Wilson and Chaz Chandler. So the first track on here is called Hope for Happiness. I think this is a little bit disjointed. Doesn't flow very well. I do like that Kevin Ayres' guitar work on here, but it is very disjointed. Joy of a Toy. I quite like this. This is dominated by the bass line from Kevin, but it's quite hoopy. Really good. Then we get Hope for Happiness Reprise. Another 1 minute and 38 of this. Don't know why. Why Am I So Short? Another really psychedelic track. Little short thing with lots of keyboards. Yeah, it's okay. So, Boot It If at All. This is where this is the start of the jazzy sound. It's sort of a Spinal Tap jazz odyssey thing. It's quite good. A Certain Kind. Now this is my favourite track from this one. I love the bass line from Kevin. I love the little bit of organ here from Mike. Lovely harmonised vocals. It's a terrific track. Then we get Save Yourself. Another really good track on this. The keyboards are really good. Some great from Mike and some great guitar work from Kevin. Priscilla. Very short thing, but it shows Mike Ratledge's keyboard skills. Very good. Lullabye Letter. Again, another sort of jazz fusion thing. The bass is very Derek Smalls. A little bit disjointed though, and I don't like the vocal on it, to be quite honest. We Did It Again. Not a good track. This doesn't work. It's a mixture of psychedelia and jazz, and it just didn't work. Then we get Plus Belle, qu'une, Poubelle. Bit disjointed again. It's only short. Why Are We Sleeping? I really like this. It's my second favourite. Starts off quite heavy, then in the middle it goes gentle with that lovely keyboard and some great drumming from Robert on this. Terrific track. Then we get 24 25/4 lid. Just 7 seconds of piano. Another very underrated album. Got some really good tracks on here, but there are some disjointed ones where I don't think they know where they wanted to go. I think their albums got a lot better as we went on. Not much written about this. There's no critiques or anything like that, but it did get to number 160 on Billboard Top LPs and Canada's RPM Top Albums, number 49. So let's have a look at the nuts and bolts of this one. Song quality, once again, some very strong songs, some very important music on this. Even though some of it's disjointed, it was a bit of an experiment, and they pushed the boundaries out. So I shall give that a 4 out of 5. Production, very well produced album, very crisp, a little dated now, but it's still a crisp album. Reception, it didn't do very well here, and it didn't do anything in the UK, and it sort of peeps over in America, so I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. Cover design, I love this cover. It's bright, it's got the band on it, so I'll give that a 5 out of 5. So for Soft Machine by Soft Machine gives us a total of 16 out of 20. So everyone knows that Status Quo is my favourite band, but when I looked at this, I listened to these albums very, very carefully, and I listened to them quite a lot, and I'm going to actually go with Status Quo, not because they're my favourite band, but it had a bigger impact than the Soft Machine. Okay, this album didn't chart, the Quo album didn't chart, but it had a couple of good singles on it, and one of them broke America as well. So, and listen to the two. I love these two albums, but in all honesty, I think the Quo one has got some more poppy songs on, more catchy tunes. So I am going to give it to my beloved Status Quo today. So it's up to you now. If you want to disagree with me, I'm sure there's a lot of you there that are bigger Soft Machine fans than Quo fans, but this is what it's all about. Let's see which one of these really important psychedelic albums is your favourite. You'll be able to vote, of course, in the community. There'll be the poll on the live stream tonight, and you just do your usual thing, put it in your comments, and then Dave will collate all the figures, and he leaves it literally right up to about 4 o'clock on a Thursday afternoon before the live stream, so you got plenty of time to vote. Okay, that's all for this one. I'll be back very shortly with Pick and Mix, and we're going to take a wander down the sidewalk today, which means we are going to have a look at the top 10 singles from the 1st of June 1979. So join me for that later. Bye for now.